My son died suddenly at 42. 3 weeks later, my daughter-in-law tried to evict me from the house I'd owned for 30 years. She thought I was just a confused old widow who didn't understand property law. She forgot I spent 35 years as a real estate attorney specializing in property disputes. I'm Barbara Richardson, 74 years old, grandmother of 2. This is the story of how my daughter-in-law tried to steal my home, my savings, and my grandchildren, and how I systematically destroyed every part of her plan. My son Michael was my only child. Brilliant, kind, funny. He married Christine when he was 35. I had reservations from the beginning, but I kept them to myself. Michael loved her, and that was enough for me. Christine was 28 when they married, beautiful, charming in public, but there was something calculating behind her eyes, something cold. My husband Paul noticed it too, but Michael was in love. They had 2 children. Emma, now 9, and Lucas, 7. I adored those grandchildren. I saw them every week. Birthday parties, school plays, weekend sleepovers at my house. Christine tolerated me. She was never warm, but she was polite enough. She called me Barbara instead of Mom, which was fine. She kept me at arm's length from family decisions, but I accepted it. Not every daughter-in-law becomes close with their mother-in-law. My husband, Paul, died 5 years ago from cancer. Michael helped me through the grief. He'd come over twice a week, bring the kids, make sure I wasn't alone too much. "Mum, you're not alone," Michael would say. "You've got me and Christine and the kids. We're family." I lived in the same house Paul and I bought in 1978, a beautiful 4-bedroom craftsman in Pasadena, California. We'd raised Michael there. The house was paid off decades ago, worth about $1.8 million now, thanks to California real estate appreciation. The house was in my name, only my name. Paul and I had set up our estate carefully. I was a real estate attorney after all. I knew exactly how to structure property ownership. After Paul died, Michael suggested several times that I should add his name to the deed, just in case something happens to you, Mom. It'll make the inheritance process easier. I always said the same thing. "Michael, I have a will. Everything is set up properly. When I die, the house goes to you. There's no need to complicate the title now." What I didn't tell him was that I'd also set up a living trust with specific provisions. If anything happened to me, Michael would inherit the house. But if anything happened to Michael before me, the house would go directly to his children, in a trust I controlled until they turned 25. Christine would get nothing from my estate. Not $1. Not 1 square foot. I'd structured it that way deliberately. Over the years, I'd seen warning signs. The way Christine looked at my house, the questions she asked about my estate planning, the comments about how valuable my property was. I'm a real estate attorney. I recognize predatory interest in property when I see it. In March 2023, Michael had a massive heart attack while jogging. He was 42 years old, healthy, active, no warning signs. He died in the ambulance, gone in minutes. My world collapsed. My only child, my beautiful son, dead at 42. The funeral was devastating. I could barely stand. Emma and Lucas cried through the entire service. Christine was stoic, controlled, barely showing emotion. I thought she was in shock. I thought we were both drowning in grief. I was wrong. 3 weeks after Michael's funeral, Christine came to my house. She asked to talk privately. I thought she wanted to discuss the children, or Michael's belongings, or funeral expenses. Instead, she handed me a legal document. "Barbara, I need you to sign this." I looked at the document. It was a quitclaim deed, a legal form transferring property ownership. It would transfer my house from my name to Christine's name. I stared at her in disbelief. "What is this?" "It's a property transfer. Michael told me before he died that he wanted me to have this house. He said you'd agreed to sign it over after he passed, so I'd have security for the kids." My blood turned to ice. "Michael never said that." "Yes, he did. He told me you'd discussed it. He said the house should go to me so I can raise the kids here. This house is too big for you anyway, Barbara. You're 74. You should be in a senior community, not rattling around in a 4-bedroom house. This is my house. I've lived here for 45 years, and now you need to think about what's best for your grandchildren. They need stability. This house provides that. Michael wanted them to have it. Michael is in my will. When I die, the house goes to him, or now to his children. Everything is already set up legally. Christine's expression hardened. That's not good enough. I need this house now. The kids need security now. You're old, Barbara. You could die anytime. I need to secure their future. By taking my house 3 weeks after my son died, by ensuring my children have the inheritance Michael wanted them to have, sign the deed. I looked at Christine carefully. This wasn't grief. This wasn't confusion. This was calculated. No, Barbara, get out of my house. You're being selfish. Michael never said any such thing. And you know it. This is my house. I'm not signing anything. Get out. Christine stood up, furious. Fine, but you're making a mistake. I'm trying to do this nicely. If you won't cooperate, I'll do it another way. She left. I sat in my living room, shaking. My daughter-in-law had just tried to steal my house 3 weeks after my son died. I called my law partner, Richard Chen. I'd retired from active practice 5 years ago, but I still consulted with the firm occasionally. Richard, I need your help, and I need to review every piece of my estate documentation. I explained what happened. Richard was horrified. Barbara, she tried to get you to sign a quitclaim deed 3 weeks after Michael died. That's elder abuse. That's attempted fraud. I know exactly what it is, and I want to make sure every aspect of my estate is bulletproof, because Christine isn't done. Over the next week, Richard and I reviewed everything. My will, my living trust, my property deed, my financial accounts. Everything was perfect. Legally airtight. The house was in my name. My will specified that Michael's share of my estate would pass to his children in trust if he predeceased me. Christine had no legal claim to anything I owned, but I knew Christine wouldn't give up, and I was right. 2 weeks later, I received a letter from an attorney. Christine was suing me. The lawsuit claimed Michael and I had an oral agreement that I would transfer the house to him. Michael had made substantial improvements to the house that entitled him, now Christine, to partial ownership. I was mentally incompetent and needed a conservator, Christine, to manage my affairs. The house should be transferred to Christine as guardian of Michael's estate. It was complete fiction. Every single claim was a lie, but it was also clever. Christine was throwing multiple legal theories at the wall, hoping something would stick. The oral agreement claim was unprovable either way. She'd claim Michael told her about an agreement. I'd deny it. The substantial improvements claim was ridiculous. Michael had helped me paint the fence 2 years ago. That's not a legal basis for property ownership. The mental incompetence claim was the most dangerous. If a court appointed Christine as my conservator, she could potentially gain control of my assets, including the house. Richard read the lawsuit and shook his head. This is a fishing expedition. She's hoping you're too old or too grief-stricken to fight back. She wants you to settle and give her something. I'm not giving her anything. I'm going to destroy this lawsuit and expose exactly what she's trying to do. Barbara, you're still grieving. Maybe you should let me handle this. Richard, I spent 35 years practicing real estate law. I specialized in property disputes and elder abuse cases. I know exactly what Christine is doing, and I know exactly how to fight it. I want to handle this personally. Richard smiled. Okay, but I'm second chair. Someone needs to keep you from going too aggressive. Deal. The legal battle began in May 2023. Christine's attorney was a young guy named Brandon Castellano. Aggressive, arrogant, probably used to intimidating elderly clients. He sent me a settlement offer before our first hearing. Ms. Richardson agrees to transfer 50% ownership of the property to Christine Parker, or agrees to sell the house and split proceeds equally. I wrote back personally, Miss Richardson declines. See you in court. Our first hearing was a preliminary motion. Christine's attorney wanted to freeze my assets and appoint a temporary conservator while the case proceeded. Your Honor, we have serious concerns about Miss Richardson's mental capacity. She's 74 years old, recently widowed, recently lost her son. She may not be competent to manage a $1.8 million property. We request the court appoint a temporary conservator. The judge looked at me. Ms. Richardson, do you have counsel? I stood up. Your Honor, I'm representing myself. I'm a retired real estate attorney with 35 years of experience in property law. I'm fully competent to manage my affairs and represent myself in this proceeding. The judge raised an eyebrow. You're representing yourself? Yes, Your Honor. And I'd like to respond to opposing counsel's motion. Proceed. Your Honor, this motion is frivolous and insulting. I'm a retired attorney who practiced law until age 69. I manage my own finances, my own property, my own medical care. I have no cognitive impairment whatsoever. The only reason opposing counsel is suggesting incompetence is because I refused to sign over my house 3 weeks after my son's funeral. This isn't a competency issue. It's a property grab disguised as concern for an elderly person. The judge looked at Christine's attorney. Mr. Castellano, do you have any medical evidence of incompetence? Well, no, Your Honor, but given Ms. Richardson's age and recent trauma, motion denied. Ms. Richardson appears fully competent. She's a retired attorney representing herself effectively. Unless you bring actual evidence of incompetence, don't waste this court's time with these accusations. First victory. But Christine wasn't done. Her attorney filed a second motion, claiming I was emotionally abusing my grandchildren by refusing to provide them with stable housing. The motion claimed I was selfishly hoarding a large house while my grandchildren lived in Christine's small apartment, and that my refusal to transfer property was causing Emma and Lucas psychological harm. It was absurd. Christine lived in a nice 3-bedroom condo in South Pasadena. The kids were fine, but the motion had a secondary purpose. It allowed Christine to request that my visitation with Emma and Lucas be evaluated by a court-appointed psychologist. This was the real attack. Christine wanted to cut me off from my grandchildren. I filed an opposition motion that was 23 pages long. I documented every time I'd seen the kids in the past year, every birthday party, every school play, every weekend visit. I included photos, text messages, school records showing I was listed as an emergency contact. I also included a declaration from Emma and Lucas's pediatrician. Emma and Lucas have a close, healthy relationship with their grandmother. Barbara Richardson is a positive, stable presence in their lives. There is no evidence of emotional abuse or harm. At the hearing, I addressed the judge directly. Your Honor, my daughter-in-law is trying to use my grandchildren as leverage to steal my house. 3 weeks after my son died, she came to my home and tried to pressure me into signing over my property. When I refused, she filed this lawsuit. Now she's claiming I'm emotionally abusing my grandchildren because I won't give her my house. This is transparent manipulation. Christine's attorney tried to interrupt. Your Honor, Ms. Richardson is being dramatic. Let her finish. The judge said. Your Honor, I love my grandchildren. I've been in their lives since birth. I see them regularly. I'm listed as their emergency contact at school. Their pediatrician has confirmed our relationship is healthy. The only person trying to harm these children is their mother, who's using them as pawns in a property dispute. I request the court dismiss this frivolous motion and sanction opposing counsel for bringing it. The judge reviewed the evidence. Mr. Castellano, I see no evidence supporting your claims. In fact, the evidence suggests Ms. Richardson has a strong, positive relationship with her grandchildren. Motion denied. And I'm warning you, if you bring another frivolous motion in this case, I will consider sanctions. Second victory. After the hearing, Christine confronted me in the hallway. You're going to lose, Barbara. I'll make sure you never see Emma and Lucas again. I'll tell them you abandoned them. I'll move away. You'll die alone in that house. I looked at her calmly. Christine, I've practiced law for 35 years. I've seen people like you before. You think you're clever, but you're predictable. Every move you make digs you deeper. Keep going. Her face twisted with rage, but she walked away. The discovery phase of the lawsuit was where I went on offense. I subpoenaed Christine's financial records, bank accounts, credit cards, loan applications. What I found was stunning. Christine was broke, completely broke. She had $140,000 in credit card debt. She'd taken out 3 personal loans totaling $85,000. She was 2 months behind on her condo mortgage. But here's what was interesting. Most of this debt was recent. She'd accumulated over $100,000 in new debt in the last 18 months. Where did the money go? I dug deeper. I found $35,000 spent at luxury retailers, designer clothes, handbags, jewelry, $28,000 spent on a consulting business that didn't seem to exist, $22,000 in cash withdrawals with no documentation. $15,000 spent on a trip to Europe while Michael was alive, $18,000 in unexplained transfers to an account I couldn't identify. Christine had been living way beyond her means. And now that Michael was dead, she'd lost his $120,000 annual salary. She was desperate. She needed money fast. My $1.8 million house was her solution. But I also found something else. Something that changed everything. In Christine's credit card records, I found charges to a private investigation firm. She'd hired a private investigator 6 months before Michael died. Why would Christine hire a private investigator while Michael was alive? I hired my own investigator, a retired FBI agent named Sarah Martinez, who specialized in financial crimes. Sarah, I need to know what Christine was investigating, who she was investigating, and why. Sarah worked for 3 weeks. What she found was explosive. Christine had hired the PI to follow Michael. She suspected he was having an affair. But Michael wasn't having an affair. The PI's report, which Sarah obtained through legal channels, confirmed Michael was faithful. However, the PI had also investigated Michael's finances at Christine's request, and he'd discovered something Christine found very interesting. Michael had a $2 million life insurance policy through his employer. The beneficiary was listed as spouse. Christine had discovered she'd receive $2 million if Michael died. I felt sick, but I kept digging. Sarah found more. Christine had been researching sudden cardiac death, heart attack, risk factors, and undetectable heart medications online in the months before Michael died. Sarah also discovered Christine had been having an affair. For 8 months before Michael died, she'd been seeing a man named Derek Simmons. The unexplained cash withdrawals and transfers, they were going to Derek. Here's what I believe happened. Christine was having an affair. She wanted out of her marriage, but she was broke, and Michael earned most of the household income. If she divorced Michael, she'd get some assets, maybe alimony, but not enough to maintain her lifestyle and support her affair with Derek. But if Michael died, she'd get $2 million in life insurance, plus potential inheritance from me. So when Michael had a heart attack while jogging, Christine didn't just lose a husband, she won a lottery. I had no proof Christine caused Michael's death. The autopsy showed natural causes, a massive heart attack from an undiagnosed heart condition. But the timing was suspicious. The research was suspicious. The financial motive was clear. I couldn't prove murder, but I could prove something else. I filed an amended response to Christine's lawsuit. I added counterclaims, fraud. Christine had lied about an oral agreement regarding the house elder abuse. Christine had attempted to coerce me into signing property documents, intentional infliction of emotional distress, attempted theft by false pretenses, and I included all the evidence: Christine's debt, her affair, her hiring of a private investigator, her suspicious internet searches. I sent copies to the court, Christine's life insurance company, the police department, Child Protective Services. The life insurance company was very interested. They launched an investigation into whether Christine had made false statements on Michael's life insurance claim. The police reviewed the evidence, but said they couldn't prove anything criminal regarding Michael's death. However, they did investigate Christine's attempt to coerce me into signing the quitclaim deed that was potentially elder abuse, a criminal offense in California. Child Protective Services opened a case to evaluate whether Christine's financial instability and ongoing legal battle affected her ability to care for Emma and Lucas. Christine's world started crumbling. Her attorney withdrew from the case. Ms. Parker, I can't represent you anymore. There are ethical issues. Translation: he'd discovered Christine had lied to him about the facts of the case. The life insurance company froze Christine's $2 million payout, pending investigation of potential fraud. Christine had to hire a new attorney, one much less expensive because she had no money. In September 2023, we had a major hearing. Christine's new attorney tried to argue the case, but I'd built an overwhelming record. I presented my property deed showing sole ownership, Michael's death certificate, and my will showing proper estate planning, evidence that no oral agreement existed. Christine's attempt to coerce me into signing documents 3 weeks after Michael died. Christine's massive debt, and financial motive. Christine's affair with Derek Simmons. Christine's suspicious internet searches about heart attacks. The judge reviewed everything carefully. Ms. Parker, I've reviewed all the evidence presented by Ms. Richardson. Your claims about an oral agreement are not supported by any evidence. Your claims about property improvements are trivial and don't establish ownership rights. Your claims about Ms. Richardson's incompetence are contradicted by her effective self-representation in this case. Meanwhile, Ms. Richardson has presented substantial evidence that you attempted to defraud her of her property while she was grieving her son's death. I'm dismissing your lawsuit with prejudice. You are barred from filing any future claims against Miss Richardson's property. Christine started crying. But I need that house. I can't afford to live without. That's not Ms. Richardson's problem, the judge said. You have no legal claim to her property. Case dismissed. The judge continued. Furthermore, I'm awarding attorney's fees to Ms. Richardson, even though she represented herself. Her time as an attorney has value. You owe her $45,000 for the time she spent defending against your frivolous lawsuit. Christine was ordered to pay me $45,000. She didn't have it, but it got worse for Christine. The life insurance company completed their investigation. They found that Christine had failed to disclose her affair and her financial desperation when claiming Michael's life insurance. While they couldn't prove she caused his death, they determined she'd made material false statements on her claim. They denied the entire $2 million payout. Christine went from expecting $2 million to having nothing, plus $45,000 in judgment debt to me, plus her existing $225,000 in debts. She declared bankruptcy in November 2023. But I wasn't done. I filed for grandparent visitation rights. In California, grandparents can petition for court-ordered visitation if it's in the children's best interest. Given Christine's financial instability, her affair, her bankruptcy, and her attempted fraud against me, I had a strong case. The court appointed a child psychologist to evaluate the situation. The psychologist interviewed Emma and Lucas. The kids told the psychologist they loved me. They wanted to keep seeing me. They were confused about why their mom had suddenly stopped letting them visit me. Emma, who was 9, said something heartbreaking. Mommy says Grandma is mean and doesn't love us anymore, but Grandma always loved us. I don't understand what happened. The psychologist's report was damning for Christine. The children have a close, loving relationship with their grandmother. Barbara Richardson has been a stable, positive presence in their lives. Christine Parker's decision to cut off contact appears motivated by the property dispute rather than the children's welfare. I recommend regular, consistent visitation be reinstated. In January 2024, the court ordered, I would have visitation with Emma and Lucas every other weekend. I would have dinner with them one evening per week. I would have them for 2 weeks each summer. Christine could not interfere with this visitation. If Christine violated the visitation order, she could be held in contempt of court. I got my grandchildren back, but Christine's life continued to fall apart. Derek, her affair partner, left her when the money disappeared. He'd been with her for the potential $2 million. When that evaporated, so did he. Christine couldn't afford her condo. She had to sell it in a short sale, destroying her credit. She moved into a small 2-bedroom apartment in a less expensive area. She got a job as a receptionist. She'd never worked consistently during her marriage to Michael. Her life went from wealthy widow about to inherit a mansion to broke single mother, working an entry-level job. Meanwhile, I updated my will and trust to make absolutely certain Christine could never benefit from my estate. Everything I own goes to Emma and Lucas in a trust I control until they turn 25. Christine has no access. If she tries to use the kids' inheritance for herself, I've appointed Richard Chen as trustee with explicit instructions to fight her. I also set up education trusts for Emma and Lucas. Their college is fully funded. Christine can't touch it. I'm 74 years old now. I still live in my beautiful house in Pasadena. Emma and Lucas visit me every other weekend. We bake cookies, work on puzzles, watch movies. They're confused about everything that happened. They don't understand why their mom tried to take my house, why we went to court, why everything got so ugly. I tell them, sometimes adults make bad choices. Your mom made some mistakes, but I'll always love you and I'll always be here for you. Emma asked me once, Grandma, Did mommy try to steal your house? I thought carefully about how to answer. Your mom was scared and confused after your dad died. She made some bad decisions, but it's okay now. We have a court order, and I get to see you regularly. That's all that matters. I won't poison my grandchildren against their mother. That's not who I am. But I'll also never forgive Christine for what she tried to do. She tried to steal my home 3 weeks after my son died. She tried to claim I was incompetent. She tried to cut me off from my grandchildren. She committed fraud, elder abuse, and emotional manipulation. And I destroyed her legally, methodically, completely. Christine is 40 years old now. She works as a receptionist. She lives in a small apartment. She's bankrupt. She has no savings. She lost the $2 million life insurance payout. She has a judgment against her that she'll probably never be able to pay. Her reputation is ruined. People in our community know what she tried to do. Former friends have distanced themselves. She wanted my $1.8 million house. She thought I was just a confused old widow who could be manipulated. She forgot I was a real estate attorney who specialized in property disputes and elder abuse for 35 years. I knew every legal strategy she could use before she used it. I knew every countermove. I knew how to gather evidence, build a record, and destroy her case systematically. Some people have said I was too harsh, that Christine was just a desperate widow trying to secure her children's future. But those people didn't see Christine's face when she handed me that quitclaim deed 3 weeks after Michael died. They didn't hear her calculating tone. They didn't see the predatory way she'd looked at my house for years. Christine didn't try to steal my house out of desperation. She'd been planning it. She'd researched it. She'd waited for Michael to die so she could make her move, and she tried to use my grief as a weapon against me. I'm Barbara Richardson. I'm 74 years old. My daughter-in-law tried to steal my house 3 weeks after my son died. She thought I was just a confused old widow. She forgot I was a real estate attorney who spent 3 decades crushing people who tried to defraud elderly homeowners. I took everything from her lawsuit, her credibility, her life insurance, her financial stability, her future. But those people didn't see Christine's face when she handed me that quitclaim deed 3 weeks after Michael died. They didn't hear her calculating tone. They didn't see the predatory way she'd looked at my house for years. Christine didn't try to steal my house out of desperation. She'd been planning it. She'd researched it. She'd waited for Michael to die so she could make her move, and she tried to use my grief as a weapon against me. I'm Barbara Richardson. I'm 74 years old. My daughter-in-law tried to steal my house 3 weeks after my son died. She thought I was just a confused old widow. She forgot I was a real estate attorney who spent 3 decades crushing people who tried to defraud elderly homeowners. I took everything from her lawsuit, her credibility, her life insurance, her financial stability, her future, and I got court-ordered visitation with my grandchildren. That's what happens when you try to steal from someone who spent 35 years protecting people exactly like me from people exactly like you. Christine wanted my house. I gave her a legal education she'll never forget. And I'm still living in my beautiful home, watching my grandchildren grow up exactly like I planned. Justice isn't always quick, but when you know the law, it's always thorough. The end. Subscribe for legal revenge justice.